Welcome back to another Creative Encounter podcast episode. I am your host, Juiette and you are back for episode 52 of this podcast. So great to have you here. Remember, we are on YouTube, so go ahead and subscribe if you're there. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the platforms. So leave us a like, leave us a subscription, go ahead and leave a review, leave a rating, all of that good stuff, so we can reach so many more Kingdom creatives through this podcast. But without further ado, I'm actually here with a new friend of mine. We've been connecting via social media for a while, and it's actually because of a past guest, Michael Mims. He connected us, so it's going to be a really special episode. This is my guy, Chicago filmmaker. This is going to be Ashley Ephraim. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? How are you?
Feeling?
Hey, I'm here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Bro, so when was that? So Mims, that was about, I'd say almost 10, 15 episodes ago.
Yeah.
So that means like for a few months. We've been connecting and talking and stuff about making this happen, and we finally got it going.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's a blessing, man. Thank you for doing what you do and having this platform for creatives, because I think that in that space in general, like there's always a need to hear voices.
Yes.
And just from a standpoint of being able to relate to people and to share experiences is great. So thank you for doing this.
Man, dude, thank
and
you so
congrats
much.
On 1 year, man.
Yeah,
like,
1 year, bro. Man.
It's huge, 1 year.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. October made 1 year, and it's been consistent, too. So I'm like, man, praise God. Like, you know, starting it off, I had some ideas of stuff I wanted to talk about, but it's just been unfolding all the creatives I've connected with, where I'm like, man, this can keep going because there's so many Kingdom creatives who are just doing so much, and people don't know.
Right.
You know, by God's grace, He's been blessing us with clients and connections and stuff. But I'm like, man, if we can make this a bigger thing where it's just like, you know, something we can go back to and show to people, that would be fantastic.
That's amazing, man. You have a lot of milestones. I met Lyric, which is awesome.
Yeah, little man, bro.
3-week-old little baby. Oh my gosh, you forget how tiny they are, and
bro,
he's super cute.
He was 5. He was actually the biggest of the 3.
Yeah.
And he was like he was in the womb longer, you know, the longest.
Yeah.
You know, so that was pretty cool because usually, you know, Gabby would kind of have them early on, start contracting early. He was like pretty much full term, which was a blessing because she was just praying, you know, really praying over that. I keep wanting to like tell her story, but I'm like, I'm waiting for her to post the testimony because this is a whole testimony, bro. It's a whole testimony. So it's a whole thing.
Amazing, man. Yeah, I think it's been cool just even dialoguing with you and getting to know you today a little bit more. And just finding out, like, we have 3 boys. You know, you have 3 boys, I have 3 boys. Crazy household.
How is it? Okay, so you got one of yours is older.
Yeah.
You know, so tell me, how is it? What should I expect? Because my oldest right now is 7.
Oh, man. You know, like, my oldest is a helper. Yeah. He's a helper. And I think I'm the oldest out of 3, you know, and so I have 2 sisters. So I got all the boys after, you know, so I'm parenting the boys, which is interesting. I'm like, God, did you want that? So, you know, but no, it's good. It's he's super helpful, and, you know, just seeing them develop and grow, and, you know, and then juxtaposing that with like seeing Lyric today, right? And going, man, he was that tiny at one point. Just seeing the development it's unreal as a parent. So awesome. You have, I mean, you're enjoying this journey. It just gets better and better.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. And pretty much, just like y'all know, pretty much Ashley is my new best friend. Because my boy brought me this cap. You see, we rocking the same cap. His business is Bright Cap Entertainment.
Yeah, there we go. You got it.
Bright Cap Entertainment. I had to remember BCE.
That's right.
There we go. I love it, man.
Yeah, cool. Man.
So you do videography. We do videography. You do photography too.
I don't do photography.
Okay, so mostly you got your filmmaking company and everything.
Yeah. So it's cool. You know, in the creative space in general, the opportunity to collaborate is huge, and so I love that about the industry. Where, you know, if I find a client that they're like, hey, I'm looking for kind of the whole package, there's definitely people that I collaborate with, you know, depending on what's needed. And so, for example, Michael Mims and I have collaborated on quite a few things together, and we're collaborating on things right now. And when you get to find that kind of that synergy and the commonality in viewpoints of like how a creative should approach their work, and then the look of that work, and it like vibes. It's just like, I want to just keep doing life with these people, you know? And so God's been really good this year in particular in kind of surrounding me with those people and allowing me to be in spaces where I'm just like, I am most definitely the least talented person here, but God's favor is good.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy, man. And it's always one of those like a toss up because I feel like oftentimes we can end up being like humble in those spaces, which is a beautiful thing. That's what the Lord wants.
Yeah.
But I've seen your work, dude. Like just scrolling on IG just before we connected, I'm like checking out. I'm like, yo, this is legit. You know,
thanks,
so
man.
so praise God.
Thank
like
you.
even you just being in that position, or rather that posture of being just humble in that space. But you do excellent work.
Thank you.
You know
I
what I'm saying?
appreciate
So I was
that.
like, I got him on this podcast so we can kind of promote and talk about it. But yeah, man, just dive in and tell me how you even launched this thing. With like the big thing for me is the inception, man. You already know.
Yeah.
So like, tell me when you even just started having that eye filmmaking and then just went off into it, the whole kind of story. You know?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty interesting because I really got into this business professionally 3 years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
2020?
in 2020.
Dude, same for us, bro. Literally.
Really?
Yeah, Paying Door Productions.
Man.
We had someone just hit us up and be like, "We've seen some of your music videos.
Yeah.
Do you do this for other clients?"
Yeah.
And Gabby and I, we never did it for other people. We didn't think about that. And that's crazy, man.
That's insane. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean it seems like 2020 was a year that really like shaped a lot of people's lives, and obviously the root of that was the pandemic, and there were adjustments that needed to be made, but for me the journey to that actually began 3 years prior to that, where I was working. I'm kind of this person that my whole life, even when I was younger, I was just kind of like, I think I'm going to try to do as many jobs as I possibly can.
Dude,
just because it feels like there's so many fun things out there to do that I was just like, I think it'd be really cool to try this job, that job. I remember one of the more vivid ones is like, I always wanted to work at Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster Video, because I liked movies and I liked, shows and stuff like that. And I was like, what better place to work at than a video store?
What better place?
That
That's so crazy. It had connects to what you do.
I know,
That's
and
crazy.
it's weird because from a creativity standpoint, as far as creating content, it wasn't 100% of my radar to do it professionally per se. Now, so when I was younger, I was always fascinated by just storytelling through that medium of like TV. And so I would come home from school and watch that afternoon lineup of shows. And, I grew up with Saved by the Bell. I grew up, with all these shows.
Did you watch The New Class too?
The New Class of college years, man.
Hold on.
Wedding in Hawaii. Like, come on, man.
Stop,
like, deep dive.
All of them episodes, right? Okay, but what about this show? This would be a whole show.
Okay,
All
right.
right. What about this show? Did you ever watch California Dreams?
I didn't watch
You
California.
didn't watch that?
I did not.
Oh man, that was a show, bro.
Was it?
Yeah, that was my job. It had that like Saved by the Bell vibe.
Yeah. No, I just stuck to the original, the OG. But yeah, it was just like there was something always fascinating about storytelling in that medium, that there was always an influence there for me. And I remember when I saw like my first like video camera. And it was like those big shoulder cams, like the home cams. And my uncle had it, and he would pull a full tape inside of it. Wow. Full cassette. And that's how he would record. And that was like the first exposure to it that I had. And then I remember when my parents got their Panasonic, and I have that camera still.
Yeah, that was the one that was a little smaller, compact, and had the little flip screen on the side.
Well, that one didn't. Okay. That one was pre-screen. So, like I said, I'm a little older than you. So it was like, we had the cassettes that went in there and everything like that. But you still had the viewfinder where you had to put your eye in there to look through. And I remember playing around with it and doing the craziest things. Like, I have two younger sisters, and I'm older by 6 years to one and 8 years to the other. So they would be my extras and my actors,
Very nice.
And so we would do crazy things around the house and skits and all that. And then the youth group, when I would do youth group, I was in charge of like kind of doing video stuff for it, very loosely in charge of doing that. But we would hang out on weekends in our youth group, and I would take the camera and I would literally like lock myself in a room and make like something for the youth group to watch that night when we were just hanging out. And I would do skits and all this crazy stuff.
Just because. You weren't like they didn't ask you nothing.
I enjoy the entertainment piece of it. Like for me, it was like, man, entertainment is so fun when you get to just share something silly, something goofy with your friends, your family, whoever, and they find value in that. Like, it brings joy, you know? And I think that was the core of it for me, was like, man, this is something that brings joy to people. It's so fun. And going into high school, I got into theater for a little bit, and there was always this like thought in the back of my mind of like, what would a career in film look like? And I had this like just dream of like someday it'd be really cool to have like a multimedia studio, a place where people can do music. You know, now we have podcasts. Back then we didn't have podcasts, but music, radio, you know, TV, all of it. And coming from, so I was born and raised in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. So, and let me say that the right way, Puerto Rico.
Puerto
Rico. You have to have that R, you know. But yeah, I was born and raised in Mayagüez, and you know, for me, our culture was very much rooted in like, hey, get your education, and then find that primary thing that if you want to go for a dream or whatever, you can fall back on this education and these things that you've built. So culturally, it was, I wouldn't say 100% it was like kind of frowned upon or not encouraged to go for something like film, but it definitely wasn't like, it wasn't something that my parents would have been like, hey, great, go for your dreams, kid, you know, that type of thing. And that came from just, you know, a place where they came from, and they wanted to make sure we had the best thing for us. And so as an adult and a parent, you see things a little differently. But when I was younger, I was like, man, this really stinks. I really wish I could go for it. So I ended up going to school for just business, and I got a business degree. At first, I tried electrical engineering, really was terrible at it. And then I decided to switch majors, and I got a business degree, and I thought, hey, I'll get into banking. So I did banking for a little while I was in school and then out of school. And then through some weird set of circumstances, I ended up doing biomedical work. So I was in the biomedical field, doing technician work and repairs and things like that. And so those were like the two primary like career things that I did. And like I said, 3 years prior to the pandemic, so around 2017, I felt like this stirring where God was just kind of prompting me to explore different things. And I saw that in the biomedical field and in the place where I was working, there wasn't any real true potential for challenge and growth. And I had a choice to make whether I was going to remain stagnant where I was at. And now there's a confusion that people have where they think that comfort and being stagnant are different things, where they can actually become the same thing. If you get comfortable, you're going to get stagnant, you know? And so for me, it was like, what am I doing with my life that will allow me to grow and to just be like more like leaning towards what God is calling me to do in my life. And I wasn't sure what that was.
Right. You weren't quite too sure yet, but you started feeling this tug.
I started feeling that. Yeah. And you know what's interesting is I was probably at the time I was in my mid-30s, you know, just starting my mid-30s. And so even the thought of like switching was scary because you're like, oh, you started building something. But on the other hand, I don't see any growth here. So it's like, God, you have to be very specific and provide the right window and the right opportunity. But none of that happened without action, you know. So at that point, you know, I started preparing, and that job that I had in the biomedical field really allowed me to just work, save money, do the things that I needed to do, to where I had freedom to go, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to take a year and figure out what I want to do.
Yep, that's it.
You know? And so what I started doing was developing friendships with people that I respected, that I admired, and that I thought maybe this is something where God is doing something in me where I could do in the future. And so one of the first things was I was very involved in youth ministry at a big church out in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. And at the time, I had started reaching out to like their teaching pastor at the time and just having conversations on and off with him. And so this relationship started forming, and towards the end of that 3-year mark, so around 2019, I started, kind of befriending him and just asking questions about, hey, what does this public speaking space look like? Because I thought that there was something interesting there, and being able to share story and hopefully impact, some younger people. And so out of the kindness of his heart, he was just like, he was going through a big transition at the time, as far as moving out of Illinois.
I was going to say, like, from that position at the church.
Yeah. And then coming back from time to time to do little speaking circuits in the Midwest. And he was very open to just inviting me to those spaces.
Oh, very nice.
And so he's one of my mentors. He's a great friend of mine. His name's Steve Carter. And Steve is an amazing teacher, and he just gave me this opportunity to just kind of hang out with him for about a year whenever he would be in the Midwest. That's long as I had a way to get there, he would take care of the rest of it.
That's awesome.
And so it was really cool to just kind of develop that, and that God opened that door. But I think it was through a posture of just seeking out, like, what do you have for me, God? And asking questions, and not really like hesitating in the ask, because I think a lot of times, especially like the way I grew up was like, you don't ask anybody to do anything for you. You do it on your own. You figure out a way. There's grinding. There's like a grit about it that you have to have, because you don't want to feel like you owe anybody anything. And I think that was the mentality.
Yeah, it was. And it's crazy because a lot of our parents and grandparents grew up with that mentality.
Exactly.
Because of a lot of societal different things and cultural, racial type of things like that and stuff, But then it's so crazy because it's so stifling and it's so counter scripture.
I know. And I didn't realize that until adulthood.
And it's so many different things where it's like God is just like so many open doors when we make these connections, and it's crazy. So I had to get a little uncomfortable in that sense of like what I grew up with, versus like, what is God telling me to do now? And am I willing to step in and do it? And so I just thought, why not? Like, why not just ask? And and God provided the opportunity. So I did that for about a year, where I went to different places, and he actually shared a couple of the events we went to. He gave me platform space, which was really cool. I was not expecting it. You were speaking.
And so I had a couple opportunities to speak and get feedback and things like that. And so it was really cool. And then towards the end of that year of 2019, something completely unexpected happened, which was I got a 14-page script from a friend of mine who actually, when I was like 19 and he was 15, I was his like youth leader.
Wow,
when I was a part of my first church plant.
You said a 14-page?
14-page script.
Snap.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was like a little, just kind of like a teaser script, I guess. And the way that he was using it was like therapeutically. It was like, hey, my wife is going through some stuff. This is an outlet for me. She's going through some health issues, and I just figured this would be a good way to get that, kind of that creativity out and utilize that. And he's what he does for work is he's he's a journeyman for union, for an electrician's union. He's an electrician, and he wrote this based on his experiences as an apprentice. And so I read it, and I was like, I don't know if this thing is a comedy or a drama, but let's uncover and try to figure this out. And sure enough, like, we turned that thing, and we started developing it. I just thought, hey, it'd be fun to just sit down and just play with this and develop it. Now, to backtrack, the reason why he reached out to me about that was because in 2014, right around then, I was on a reality show for like one season.
Yeah, come on.
It was the most interesting, definitely the most interesting thing that I've done in terms of outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I was in a banking job again at that point, in like 2013. And in 2014, I actually quit and worked for one of my clients.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons was because he was kind of looking to reorganize his business.
One of your banking clients?
Banking clients.
Okay, cool. Because you're not doing film quite yet.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So I was a business banker. And so one of my business clients just approached me about an opportunity. I was like, hey, this sounds really good. And one of the things that they had told me was like, we also have a reality show looming. Yeah. And, if you do this, you'd be in it. You'd be a part of it.
That's so cool.
And so I was like, this is really cool, And so I did that. I approached that. The show was called Best in Bridal.
Best in Bridal.
So it's a bridal show, which was the interesting part. And the premise was like this all-girls bridal salon was competing against an all-guys bridal salon, all in the Dundee area, so in the northwest suburbs of East Dundee and West Dundee.
So did you go over into that area?
So I was living in Algonquin, which is close to that area at the time, and and so I was like, let's do this, let's try this out. Funny enough, you look up the show; it's on Disney Plus right now.
Nice,
Best in Bridal, but it's a pretty ridiculous show. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and it actually.
So I'm gonna see you on Disney Plus.
You can see me here and there. I was a supporting actor, there. Nice. But it's a reality show, and it was a cool premise, And I just think it really woke something in me that was asleep for a while in terms of getting to do something in the creative space. Now that there's ebbs and flows to that, and that's the interesting part about this whole story is that it's very I was almost there, and then God pulled everything back a little bit.
From right there, just right there. Yeah. You said something earlier about how we can sometimes find ourselves doing a lot of different jobs and different things over time. And that was all my 20s, dude. I had so many different things and everything. Now it's solidified to these core areas. I'm just like, this is it type of thing. But with that, it's crazy because I'll be like, oh, I'm this age, I'm at this place, whatever. If I known at this time. But then you look back and all of these pieces are connecting. Yeah. So with the ebbing and the flowing and stuff, it's like all of those components are connecting because you're going to need something from this season and that season to get to where you're at. You know what I'm saying?
It's so good,
it's
man.
Like, oh, man, yeah.
And that's 100% right. I mean, I think one of the interesting things about being in your 20s is that you feel a lot of times like you got to get it right. Yeah. You feel a lot of times like, man, so-and-so is doing this, and I need to be here by this date. Yeah. You know? That's it. And the reality is that I think your 20s are just a time to explore and to really seek God out in what He's calling of your life. And that means taking risks, taking chances, doing things that might make you feel uncomfortable, things that you need to learn to do. And then all that stuff gets sanded out and, taken care of with time. And so... for me, I was already in my early 30s at that point when I did the reality show. Yeah. And I didn't, we only got one season, so it was done after a season, which is pretty typical, in the industry. Okay. But after that, I went back to biomedical. And... and I, that's, at that time I was dating my wife and I was getting serious about, hey, let's start a life together. So I needed something stable, something.
So you went back to one of those bridal locations to kind of help with that, to help with
so
that
they
season.
Hooked it up, the bridal boys up in East Dundee really helped us out. So Dave's out there. I know Dave. Tell him you know me and he'll hook you up. All right, if you're looking. But that experience was really good. Yeah. It was a good experience overall. Taught me a lot of things and allowed me to discover good and bad things about myself. As far as the way that I was approaching business, the way that I was approaching my life, so when it came time to move on from that and kind of get serious about, hey, I want to start building a career, I decided let's see what biomedical has, and that's what I did. And so that gave me the opportunity to save money to get engaged, purchase my home, all those things that you do when you're adulting, And and then so in 2017, it was one of those things where it was starting to become pretty evident that this wasn't going to be the place for me.
Okay, yeah.
So I took the next 3 years to kind of figure out what that looked like. And like I said, 2019, I really started ramping up what are the possibilities. And as soon as that happened, that script came to me. And I was like, I'm not sure what to do with it, but let's sit down and see if we can develop it. And that's what we did. We spent a month and a half developing the script, and we ended up making the 14 pages into a 49-page pilot episode for a comedy.
That's so cool.
And then it came time to kind of go, hey, let's do something with it. What can we do?
Yeah.
Well, everybody kind of goes that pitching route of like, let's send it to agencies. Let's do it. So let's do something different, And so my thought was, why don't we just do this thing ourselves?
Yeah.
And so the friend of mine that wrote the script, his name's Dallas Madrid, and Dallas and I, we decided just to do this on our own.
Yeah.
And I was in the forefront of just going, I've always wanted to start a production company.
Yeah.
And I think this might be the window.
That's it.
And so through conversations with my wife and just people that I respect and love and that know me, it just became evident that this was the move.
That's it.
And so all the things that I had been preparing for, the money I had been saving, all this stuff was culminating into this Bright Cap Entertainment. And so in 2020, I made the strategic decision of quitting on my 5-year anniversary.
Nice.
So I did it the day my 5 years.
Yeah. so you had the 5 years, you have like a party and everything?
I needed to get that plaque.
Yes, you had to get the plaque, bro.
I had
Come
to
on.
get the plaque. I got it in the mail, but I needed to get that plaque. And that whole thing had its own crazy story that we just don't have enough time to go into today. But that whole thing had its own just journey, and God really showed favor throughout that experience. And I think sometimes people feel like they're stuck in a certain place, whether that's a workplace or whatever, due to circumstances and things like that. And I think God continued to provide the opportunities for me to like be an advocate for people in that workplace and also to free myself from it.
That's good. Yeah.
So, I think if we really lean our heart towards like, man, just let God drive, like really let God do his thing.
Dude, can you imagine? Can you imagine the possibilities if we just let go? I mean, we said all day, we got these little cute, catchy phrases, let go, let God, stuff.
Yeah.
Jesus, take the wheel, all this stuff, whatever. But can you imagine how dynamic we will be if we fully just let go and just like put our faith, like that crazy mad faith we read in scripture.
Yeah.
We read this, we fill ourselves up. Now when it's our turn to do it, we're like, oh no, whatever and stuff. It's just like, bro, I mean, and it says be transformed by renewing your mind.
Yeah.
It is this big, huge mind shift because, we've been trained up in a certain way and method of how schooling and life should be and everything. And they don't teach like this other journey of being entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Just venturing out. And more than that, just under God's covering.
Exactly.
It's just like, bro, we'd be so crazy.
That's the caveat to all of it is it wouldn't have been possible without God just leading it.
Wow.
And so, that's when I started the company in June of 2020.
Yeah, that's so dope, bro.
So it's been a whole like journey ever since then, man. The last 3 years have been pretty phenomenal in how you see God's fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
You see God's movement all over it. And I wasn't. Here's the interesting thing about this whole thing is that I wasn't set out to start like a Christian film company. I actually thought for a long time that just Christian content just stunk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's crazy because I think about that so much too.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, imagine another imagination, right?
Yeah.
Like watch Pure Flicks and things like that.
Right.
And sometimes you get some good movies that are just like dope. You get some little cheesy ones up in there.
The overall stuff felt, and I'll be a snob about it because I'm in this space.
Yeah, exactly.
But it felt very Hallmarky, you know? Yeah. And so I wanted to go with the intention of like also using this as a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of the journey that I've had is that I started this in a partnership.
Yeah.
And then last year that partnership dissolved.
Okay.
And so I think it was honestly just God's favor in that, just going, there's something different here for you than what your plans are, you know? And so I had to respect that, and I had to honor that and allow God to work through that. And so it's been, you know, a very like volatile journey in that sense, in my expectations and God's requirements, you know? And but you know, ever since last year, summer of last year, things have just shifted towards these like stories and these like relationships that have built from a place of like hope. And you know, when I initially started the company, we started with a comedy pilot that's like The Office meets construction, you know.
Okay.
And
okay,
so,
wait, now where is this accessible? Is this on YouTube? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay.
The show's called Sparky.
Okay.
There is a disclaimer for language on there because you know the language is very true to the field.
To the field. Okay. I see what you're saying.
So but it's very much like, you know, Parks and Rec style, you know, mockumentary. With the talking heads and everything.
Now this is the development that came from
that was the first thing we ever did.
Yeah. No, so, right from the thing that, from back in the day, the person reached back out to you. That's crazy. How that connect. It's just the timing of it. It's so crazy.
I know.
You're already having all of these shifts mentally, and then this person from all while your life is going like this. This thing is happening over here. To hit you right at that moment.
Yeah.
Come on.
It was crazy. It was like, and we follow each other on social media, but it wasn't something where we were talking on the regular. And so when he reached out to me, I was like, Dallas, what's going on, man? It's been a minute. And so we got to share that and be in a relationship for those couple years of just like, how do we try to build this thing together? What kind of stories do we want to tell? You know, and try to figure that out. And so we've put out some good content in terms of like stories that are funny, stories that involve some conflict. Right now, we're finishing up a festival run for the last short film that we did together, which was around the topic of abortion. You know, and so. We just wanted to test our range and see what was there, you know, and now it's just been shifting the company towards developing relationships with other businesses and small businesses in order to grow our capital in the business so that I can have the ability to develop my own content. So that's the goal and the big dream is to fund my own projects and not go the investment route of like looking for an investor or looking for somebody to fund it, because I don't believe that I should be, you know, like I should carry that kind of pressure of like having to pay somebody back for an investment that they're looking to make. If I believe in a project, I want to fund it myself and take the risk on all fronts. And so that's where I am at right now in this process. But I've had the amazing opportunity to work with some great organizations. You know, Generation Distinct is one of them with Michael Mims and Hannah Grunowski.
Yeah, I want to connect with Hannah. I've been.
Hannah's amazing,
her as well,
and her husband Aaron. Like we're just really good friends, and we're trying to figure out ways to just continue doing life together. And so they've put on these amazing conferences for the last couple of years called Untitled, and it's not even a conference; it's just a space. You know, that is very intentional for young leaders that are looking to develop their skill set for whatever their calling is. You know,
and this is, I think we say June, July. It's usually around that time.
It's around July. Is when we try to do it.
Check out the next one.
Man, the next one is gonna be insane. We're already planning it, and I just know that God's gonna do some big things through it. This year was a big step from year one. And I think next year, year 3, you know, I'm a numbers guy, and you know, 3 has a lot of meaning. And so I just think that next year is going to be amazing. You know, the special thing about the event too is that it is like by invite. So it's people that have gone through like the cohort of Generation Distinct and that development process, which I think is really cool because you get like attention that you don't get at like the bigger conferences. And so being able to partner with places like that and organizations like that has been incredible. I'm working with another organization right now called Save a Life, and what they do is essentially they're actually based in Ukraine, and what they do is that they actually help expectant moms go through like just the observation and they give them the information that they need in order to make an informed decision about what they want to do with their unborn child. And so they really help, just kind of give these moms the resources that they need. We always talk about in that space, like, what resources do moms get? What choice do they have? And the reality is that there are organizations like this, like Save a Life, that really want to be at the forefront of helping that mom have the ability to raise that child, or if they come from a home that's rooted in domestic abuse, things like that. They want to supply what they need. And so the exciting part about that partnership is that they have a bunch of centers already. In the U.S., they have a couple. In Ukraine, they have a bunch. And so they're trying to bring some more into the area, and specifically in Illinois. They were doing an event this past weekend, which they raised the money to build a facility in McHenry County. So it's cool to see those stories and hear them out. And every person that you meet just has a journey. And I think that's the great thing about the space is that when you're a filmmaker or you're a storyteller, you get to uncover like little books of everybody's journey and retell that in a way that is entertaining, but it's also like influential, and so I think that's the passion that I have for filmmaking comes from being able to share story and bring that hope and that joy to people.
So crazy, dude. This whole time, you've been talking, those are the key words that have just been kind of just sitting in my head the whole time. I'm like, I'm going to drop it at them, that story. You're big on story. And another key word that you said was impact earlier. So those are the two things that drive your business, because every business is unique because of the unique story of the individual who created the business and all of your influences and things that have just made you who you are up until this point. So just even, being Puerto Rico, starting over there in Puerto Rico, starting over there and then coming over here and just all the connections and all of it together has built you to who you are. And you just have that passion from uncles, old school VHS, what I'm saying? And then working that into creating this business and impacting people is so beautiful. It's so funny because Gabby and we're going to connect after this. I say this a lot in the episodes because talking.
It's true.
But, for real. But it's like talking after because like we have this recently this film idea that we want to I want to bounce off you. See if you think there's something that could just be, crazy, or, just get your feedback, So, like, we got this crazy idea.
I love that, man.
Yeah, dude, but I feel like it'll be super impactful, kind of keeping that terminology there. But, man, I love it.
That's so good. Yeah, man. So, I enjoy story and storytelling and, hopefully, in the future, when we sit down again, I'll share with you the story that ultimately, is really the defining story in my life that is rooted in why I follow Jesus and why I call God God. And it has to do with my dad's story. So, so it's there's a lot there. There's a lot that God has just provided in my life, and I'm grateful for. And I think that this medium of filmmaking and storytelling in this way, it's just fun, man. It's crazy. All right, don't get me wrong. It's not all like sunshine and rainbows.
Of course,
you have your ups and downs like anything else. But overall,
like any job, when you have to interact and work with people,
absolutely, that's the factor.
Because that's what we do. So it's like that's a component there.
Absolutely, and so God's good and growing me through it, and I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. but I think that God continues to show favor in the people that He's surrounding me with, including you today, and just being able to connect in this way. And so, yeah, man, and I'm excited for you and for everything that you have going on, because doing the family life and the creative life is not easy. By no means. It's not easy. There's a lot where your priorities and your time are consistently fighting one another. And so I have a lot of respect for people that are in this space where they're also trying to do life, you know, as a grown-up with grown-up responsibilities and grown-up things. So all that to say, man, that I appreciate you, commend you for the work that you're putting in, and just very expectant of what God is going to do in and through you over the next few years.
Man, dude, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate that, man. Wow. Yeah. Man, dude, so 2 last little things before we wrap up. I want to know how the name, you know, Bright Cap Entertainment came to be.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask about my name.
No, you know, it's crazy. I was going to, okay, I'm glad you said that, because, okay, that's crazy. So I was going to ask you that off camera.
Yeah.
Because obviously Ashley, you know.
Go for it,
you know,
man.
Once I was going to ask. I was going to, no offense.
My favorite is my social media conversations with people that haven't looked at my profile picture.
Yeah, they're like what up, girl? No, but legit, I was like, I want to ask you, like, because I'm obviously thinking Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, is that like a typical, I know Ephraim, yes, but is that a standard name? Like, where'd the name come from? So now we got 3 things. So we always just wrap it up with this. So the name, where'd the name come from? The name of the business. And then we always leave all of our guests with some kind of just nugget to just kind of leave them with, you know, to just kind of encourage and push them in the direction. So can I just break those down real quick?
So the name, it's actually, I wish it was a better story, honestly. Sometimes I'm like, I just should start making up stuff. But no, my mom and dad, they honestly, this was I'll say this. Do you remember Full House?
Of course.
You know, Ashley Olsen and Mary Kay, they were the twins that were on the show. So there was a show in the 90s called Full House. And
y'all if y'all don't know what this is, comment below and let me know if y'all know what Full House is, because we're going to have a problem.
For real.
That's crazy,
for real.
Yes.
But yeah, before Mary Kate and Ashley became like what they are.
Michelle,
And Ashley, the boy, the name Ashley was a boy's name.
Okay.
And so in the baby name book, it was like in both the boys section and the girls section.
Oh, okay, no way,
And so my mom simply just did what most moms do. They will go in the baby name book. Well, now it's Google, but they went in the baby name book and they saw the name Ashley, and it was one of the ones in the list.
No
and so
way.
it made
She loved it,
and my dad was like, awesome, as long as he has my name as the middle name. So that's how I'm Ashley Ephraim. And
let's go.
Yeah, and so I actually didn't know till about 5th grade, because I went to elementary school in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So it was like 4th or 5th grade. I didn't know that they were using this name for girls. So I remember the first time I heard about that was a classmate of mine came back from a Colorado trip, and he's like, "Do you know you have a girl's name?" He's telling me this in Spanish, and I'm like, "Get out of here!" And my best friend's like, "What are you talking about? He's right here. It's a guy's name, obviously, No way. And that was the first time. And then I moved to the States, and I noticed right away that like people in 6th grade were like, "His name's Ashley." What is that? So I've had a good time just growing up with it. And
so you cried a little bit in 6th grade.
I cried. Was with the counselor all the time. No, man, I just embraced it. I embraced it and just made fun of it. And
then at the end of the day, you could just call yourself Ash, like Pokemon, Ash Ketchum.
That lasted pretty much just 6th grade.
Just that 1 year. Just that 1 year.
Just that 1 year.
I love it.
But yeah, man, and then Bright Cap Entertainment, that came, it was really hard to, it's really hard, guys, to come up with a business name if you don't know already. And I think sometimes, I hear those stories of like, I just had a dream, and I'm like, I'm not that fortunate. I was writing text messages, and I had like lists that I would go back and forth, because I was with my former partner at the time of the business. And so we would bounce these names off of each other. And one of the things that I noticed was like, hey, when we started this group, we had 4 guys that, like myself included, that were all in like our group meetings and stuff like that. And so these were the 4 guys that we kind of started with. And anytime we'd come to a meeting, everybody would wear a ball cap. And and I just had this like idea, like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like, what do we think about Bright Cap? Because we wanted to kind of the first show that we ever did was Sparky.
Okay.
So that's the name of the show, Sparky.
Right.
That's the comedy, and that's about a union electrician going through his apprenticeship and getting going through all these like different adventures and dealing with workplace people and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's rooted in like electrical, and so the Bright came from that. And then I was like, it kind of has a double meaning to it, because also, you know, we got to put our thinking caps on when we're developing content.
So sick. I love it. I love
it. So, you know, it worked out really well.
And the traditional, the power of three.
Yeah.
Power of three, you know, so typically when you name stuff, guys, if any of you guys are doing anything entrepreneurial, typically they say don't go past three in your name of your business, you know, so it just flows better. So just Bright Cap Entertainment, you know, I got Starving Artist Courses, Pain Dealer Productions. Awesome. It's always just like, you know, 2 or 3. When you start kind of losing people, so just gotta keep that in mind if you're dreaming about something in the future. So
yeah, and letters, you know, obviously when you take the letters there, BCE. Yeah. You want to consider that too. Because sometimes people don't look at that, and it ends up being awkward.
Some awkward acronyms, yes. So
yeah, man. But that's how that came to be, and it's been Bright Cap Entertainment ever since, and hopefully we'll be around for a while.
I love it, man. Awesome, man, dude. So give us that nugget. Then we're gonna have everyone to follow you. So what's something that you want to leave our creatives with, those who are venturing out, maybe even to this specific industry, even?
Yeah. Whatever you're doing, I guess the one nugget that I would give is whatever you're doing, if you feel that in your heart this is a true calling, and you know you've taken the steps of talking to people and you've done your homework basically. The key word I would use is persist. Yeah. Don't give up. Like that's the big thing. I think in anything creatively that we do. The reason why people have longevity in it is because they don't quit. Yes. So don't quit, you know, and it's hard. I'm not saying it because I think it's easy. I'm saying it because that's what will set you apart from everybody else. So don't quit and allow God to just, you know, be your strength in those moments where you're just feeling weak.
I love it, man. Praise God. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool, bro. So how can people reach you? Like, do you have a LinkedIn with all the links or a specific site?
Yeah, so I have a Linktree page on my Instagram. And I also have a LinkedIn, too. But Linktree page on my Instagram, and my handles, the letters I am Ashley Ephraim. I love it. And on every other platform, for some reason on IG, I can't get at Ashley Ephraim. Man, somebody has it, but I can't find out who. What they even doing? That's the weird part. Yeah. I'm like, let it go. There you go. Just let it go. Like, everything else, I'm at Ashley Ephraim. Cool, so you know, Twitter, and all that other stuff, TikTok, and all that good stuff. So, but I would love to just connect with people in your audience. If you have questions about any of the stuff that I do, please feel free to reach out and. Yeah, and again, thank you for having me here, man. It's been a blessing.
We're definitely going to be working in the future together by God's grace. I'm so excited about that. It's going to be great. Hey, y'all, this is my guy, Ashley, here. If you guys want to follow him, it is in the link in the description below. And also follow Creative Encounter Podcast and Juiette Music. We are a nonprofit ministry. So if you want to support monthly, that would be so beneficial. So we can do so many more things to advance the kingdom of God through this ministry. Love you guys so much. Be creative this week, and we'll see you next time.